Good evening and happy Tuesday to everyone out there. This is Castro Valley News Live. We are going to do this probably around every Tuesday. We didn't let you know in advance this time, but in the future we'll let you know in advance when we have guests. But if we're just going to sit here and kind of talk about topics of the day, we will just kind of pop in. Uh, let's talk about the shelter in place, the virus. For starters, Governor Newsom closed the parking lots to parks because over the weekend there were a lot of people out and about, kind of not honoring the social distancing regulation. And let me start off here and give you the phone number if you want to call in. It's 510-331-9112 if you want to talk about the shelter, how you're coping with the shelter in place or the virus in general, anything that you may have in mind. How are you coping with the things that you're doing? This is actually week 2 of the shelter in place, and it actually seems like year 2. It's just it's it feels otherworldly. It's ridiculous. And it's only Tuesday of week 2. It seems like it's been much longer. But getting back to Governor Newsom closed the parking lots to state parks. I think the next step, if people aren't going to be at the parks doing the social distancing, I think we might see the parks close. I'm not going to parks, so it's not going to affect me, but I'm sure it's going to affect a lot of people in Castro Valley. There was some photos sent in on Sunday the of Lake Chabot Road. Outside of Lake Chabot, there were just cars packed one behind another. And then up at the Fairmont Ridge at the staging area up there were people just all over up there. So I get that everyone's got that cabin fever. And like I said, it doesn't feel like week 2 of this shelter in place. It feels like year 2. It's ridiculous. So, like I said, Governor Newsom closed the parking lots, which I don't think will stop people from getting there, but hopefully it will make people more reluctant to go there. And it's a good thing. It's another reminder to observe those social distancing regulations, which are 6 feet. During a trip to Safeway last week, I had a mask on, glasses on, was really being mindful of other people's space, and people are just walking up to me in the aisle, and I'm trying to avoid people, and we need to remember to do this if we're going to flatten that curve, or we need to do this. We need to do this so that we can get back to normal life, which I really would like to do. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who would like to do as well. Uh, President wants to end the restrictions by Easter. I don't know if that's a reality. Not a lot of people have been tested, so I don't think we really have a grasp of how many people actually have the disease. I would love for that to happen. I would love for that to be a reality where it would just be, we'd be able to just, things are at a point where we can end these restrictions by Easter. I think that would be great. I don't think it's realistic. I'm not saying that anyone should be on either side of the fence regarding the president. I'm just saying that I don't think that's realistic. I wish it would be realistic because these the times that we're living in are just not things that any of us are familiar with, and it's it's going to it's going to change our lives in a big way, hopefully in a good way, because if the next time that something similar comes down, we'll be prepared. Um, Someone is asking, where is testing happening in our area? We posted something earlier in the day in regards to what Eden Hospital is doing, and they have a fairly long list in regards to criteria. It's a long document, and I'm hoping our moderator can find that. The other testing is happening at it's a firehouse in Hayward, and we posted that, I think, Sunday or yesterday, and I'm hoping our moderator can find that as well. But there is local testing happening. The testing happening in Hayward is free. They also have a set list of criteria you must meet in regards to being tested. You have to be sick. You have to have the symptoms. I apologize. I don't remember all the criteria right off the top of my head, what Eden is doing, but I think it's similar. But our moderator will find that for you. But there is local tests, and the moderator just said the link has been shared in chat. So go ahead and check out those links and make sure that you meet the criteria that those two places are looking for you to be tested. But getting back to, I think I was talking about the numbers in regards to people who have it, and we just don't know how many people have it as of yet. So that social distancing is just super, super important for people to do that. Something that I heard leading back to the topic of social distancing, French police have deployed drones to enforce restricted travel situations, and to remind people to respect safety distances. So it sounds like French police have these drones up in the air looking around in France, and they have this speaker on it, and it barks at you, and they're saying this is a restricted travel situation, and also it's a loud voice that says, please respect safety distances. And I think that might be helpful. I'm sure it's helpful there, might be helpful here, because I think from what I've seen, a lot of people aren't I don't know if maybe we're just hardwired as social creatures that when somebody is close to you, you want to talk to them. And I'm realizing myself, it's tough not talking to people. A lot of the communication being done that I'm doing is text and email. A lot of Facebook chat is happening, and it's hard not talking to people and seeing these people in town that like the your barber, or someone is playing a lot of COD. I don't know what that is. What are other people playing? So I guess that's one way to pass the time. But getting back to just not seeing people anymore, it's weird to go to the village and not see the people at Ray Talbot Salon, and the I know a bunch of the guys outside of Starbucks. It's tough not seeing these people. Oh, Call of Duty. I'm sorry. Ray Bennett is playing a lot of Call of Duty. All right, cool. Someone asked, how are we reporting the news without going out yourself? Constantly online, constantly seeing what's happening online, headlines. Fortunate enough to have avenues of communication with our local fire, our sheriffs, and CHP. I do go out in the morning on my bicycle, so I see kind of some things that are happening, but I'm staying at home as much as possible and limiting that social interaction with people. I think it's super important that we all do it, and I'm doing my best to play that part. Like I said, we got to go to the store. We have to, you have to go to the library, and you can't go to the library. That's another thing that's breaking my heart. Can't go to the library. So there's no shortage of news because Roger said, but you can now find a parking spot in the village, and that's a good point. There's plenty of parking there. It's amazing how many businesses in the village are closed now. Like I said, Ray Talbot Salon is closed. The Hallmark store is closed. The massage places are closed. What else? I think Don Jose is still doing takeout, but it's like a ghost town, and it's just do that social distancing so we can return to normal and support our businesses and see our friends again. But the drones in France, that was an interesting story that came out on the wire, that they were using drones to enforce certain restricted travel regulations, and also essentially they have loudspeakers telling people to respect the safety distances, which is good because that's the thing that's going to flatten the curve. Mike Medeiros is asking how contagious the virus is. I'm not a doctor. I can't really speak on that. My speculation, my observation from what the actions our officials are taking by buying these hospitals to make room for all these beds, that to me, and this is just my take, it doesn't need to be your take, or I'm not saying this is the truth, it seems like it's something that we should really take serious. And I hope we're wrong. I hope the officials are wrong and something comes up and it's not as serious as it seems, or that some cure is found immediately. But I think we should really take it serious. I don't want people to think that the sky is falling, but it could. And I hope that was a responsible answer to your question. Take it serious. I would take it serious. Earlier today, I heard a news report of an interview with astronaut Scott Kelly, and it was pretty interesting. They were asking him, since he was in space for a year, they wanted to pick his brain in regards to kind of being isolated. And our moderator, in response to Mike's question, there's some CDC info on the subject of in regards to how contagious the virus is. I would trust what the CDC says above what I said. Sorry, but thank you, moderator, for pulling that up. So Scott Kelly, astronaut, he was in space for a year, and the conversation really was to pick his brain on being isolated, which is something that we're all dealing with now. Hopefully, we're coping well, but it is tough because we're social people. We want to see other people. And some of the things that he said were frankly fantastic, and seem very helpful. And again, the number to join in the conversation so that I'm not babbling on is 510-331-9112. Again, 510-331-9112. You don't have to, just give me your first name, and if you have something that you want to talk about in regards to the virus or the shelter in place or how you're coping, how are your kids coping, let's talk about it. Again, 510-331-9112. So Scott Kelly, astronaut, he was in space alone for 1 year. And he basically said the thing with being alone is to pace yourself, to have a mindset that this is the reality, and to also realize that at some point it will be over, which is great, because that's something that I think could be helpful to a lot of people, that this is going to end. And I think the more that we do the social distancing and staying inside as much as we can, I think that's going to make this being over a faster reality for everyone. He also mentioned keeping a schedule is important, since a lot of people are working at home, to have a routine, Set that time where you're going to get up out of bed, set the time that you're going to work, set a time that you're going to, have that outside time, walking your dog or going out on a bicycle. Um, have some time that you're going to do some exercise, maybe. And he said that really is key to keep mental strength and to cope with that in a big way. And I think that could be extremely helpful for a lot of people to set that schedule and definitely get outdoors, but get outdoors being mindful that it's important to keep that 6 foot social distance from other folks. And it's tough because you see people out on the street, you want to say hello, you want to walk up, you want to talk to them, you want to go to Starbucks and see your friends, and you want to go to the library and talk to people, and it's tough. We're social people, we're social creatures. 510-331-9112 is the call-in line. Some numbers. There are 2,365 COVID cases in California, 982 in the Bay Area, 45 deaths in California, excuse me. And I know a lot of people want to know where what other news is happening in Castro Valley that is not COVID related? Good question. They're still working on the Daughtry building. I don't think they have as many workers there as they did before. What else is going on in Castro Valley? There was a fire today on, I think, Jennifer, a little house fire that unfortunately displaced some folks. And I think Red Cross has been called, and they're helping them. Getting back to the numbers for COVID, 50,206 in the United States, more than 398,000 in the world, more than 17,000 deaths. But here's the good number, and I haven't heard this number, frankly, at all recently, and it should be put out there more. There are more than 103,000 people that have recovered from it. So that's hope right there. More than 103,000. The number that I got, I think it was the Chronicle had it. 103,300 people have recovered from this. So there's hope. There's definitely hope. Other things happening in Castro Valley that is not COVID related. Let me think about this, because there are things, but I think we're all fixated on this COVID thing because it's unprecedented and it's huge. Other things happening in Castro Valley. They're still working on that huge, it's big, medical building next to Three Cross Church. What else is happening in Castro Valley? Oh, our moderator just corrected me. So as of right now, total recovered 107,762. Is that from CDC? I hope, because that feels good right there. That number just went up. So those numbers that I just gave you in regards to the total causes and cases and deaths probably went up. We also just had the second death in Alameda County, and I know a lot of people want to know where those people are from, and there's regulations that prohibit giving out the city of residence on that. So I really don't have too many other things on the working list of stuff that I wanted to bring up. So if you would like to call and join the chat, the number is 510-331-9112. You can also post a question in the chat or a comment in the chat, observation in the chat. We can interact that way. That's perfect as well. How are you guys coping with being the shelter in place besides playing Call of Duty? I've seen actually, this is really cool. There's been a lot of people doing sidewalk chalk art. We shared a few photos of that. That's fun stuff. Oh, that number was from Johns Hopkins of the 107,762 people recovered from COVID. We can't say that number enough because that's our hope. 107,762 people have recovered from this. There was something that came out on the wire not too long ago. A doctor had mentioned something about the COVID-19. It's not changing much in nature, which is some hope for the research being done for a virus, or I mean, excuse me, an antivirus or a vaccine for it. So that was very hopeful. I think any little tidbit of hope that we can get in this day and age is great. We need it because there's been so much bad news that's come down. And again, 107,762 people have recovered from coronavirus, from COVID-19. That's fantastic. Let's bring that number up, and let's flatten this curve using social distancing and staying in as much as possible. There was something that I saw. It was a kind of a little, I guess it wasn't a meme. It was like a little screen capture type thing that had a saying of, the less social distancing we do now, the more we will end up doing in the future. And there's a lot of truth in that. Let's, especially for the older folks, we don't know if we think we might be safe. We might be carrying it, and then we might see a senior citizen, or it might reach a senior citizen. And those people, it's tough for them to fight this and recover from it. And I sound preachy now. We need to do as much as we can to flatten that curve and stop this thing. Any questions? Any comments? Anybody who would like to call in? The number here is 510-331-9112. That'll get you live on the chat here. Or open-ended questions are fine. Post up anything you'd like to. So I'm just taking a second here, looking at some of the comments on the more questions about no video. No video because, frankly, if you saw me, you don't want to see me. You might want to see my dog sleeping behind me. He's actually very handsome. Interesting comment from Faisal. I hope I didn't say your name incorrectly. Staying home for the last 5 days now, seeing social media, people posting their pictures, which shows how reckless they are being outside. Strongly recommend. I think he meant to say martial law, but he said, yeah, because they're putting others' lives into. Basically, I think what his point was to stay home. Stay home if you can. Don't go outside. Only go outside if you have to. Go get your groceries. Doctor's appointments, just the necessary stuff. Please just stick to the basics. The more you do that, the more temporary this will be, and we can get back to our normal lives. And got a lot of events coming up in Castro Valley. Got a lot of stuff. We got the Rowell Ranch Rodeo Parade. We got the Chili Cook-Off, car show. The more proactive we are now, staying inside and not spreading this thing around, the better off we'll be. 510-331-9112. That is the number. I'm just kind of scrolling through the comments here. Arnie, thank you so much for the compliment. Melanie is saying we all need to stay in. Can't agree with you more. Even if you can avoid the things that you think might be necessary, you can order stuff from Safeway. They can deliver it. They can leave it on your porch. You won't have to see anybody. I know it gets sticky because we get cabin fever and we want to go out, and thank goodness I do have a dog. It's an excuse to go outside and go around the block, and he's he's the biggest antidepressant anywhere because he is great. But Roger is saying he is high risk when he leaves the house. His N95 goes with me. Is that your glove or your mask? Should be the mask or gloves or eyewear. Good for you, Roger. Stay safe. 510-331-9112. Masks are good, but they need to wash your hands still. Masks just stop us from touching our faces. Yes. Wash your hands a lot. I actually am getting a rash on my hand from washing my hands so much. And the hand sanitizer. Ray says reading is great to pass the time. Absolutely. Love reading. It's always been a love and a passion. I wish the library were open because we could all go get some more materials from there to read. Like I said, the more we've flattened this curve, the sooner we can return to those things, to going to get your haircut, going to see Al over at I can't think of the new shop he's at. He's over by what is it, Reflections of Hair? Going to see Al. I miss seeing Al. This is just weird. And like I said at the beginning of the program, this is just the beginning of the second week. And it feels like it's the beginning of the second year. So let's, we got a call. Hey, this is Castro Valley News Live.
Am I live right now?
Yep, you're live.
Hi, this is Matella. So I just want to give a little insight as how impactful this is to the people who are infected, who are being treated in the hospital, and how it helps me to be patient and to promote the shelter in place and to the importance of staying home and not leaving unless it's extremely essential to do so. And that means that just because we are allowed to go to Safeway and grocery shop, it does not necessarily mean that, it's a good idea or it's okay to go every single day just because it's opened. And what helps me to try to cope or to try to have more understanding, and if my kids are getting stir crazy at home, and to help them understand, even though if they are not at an age to process it, but it helps me to put into perspective because my peers are out there in the front lines saving lives, and they call me almost every day in tears, crying, because their peers are becoming testing positive for the virus, for what they are doing, and they are bringing it home. And now their family members are at risk because they've been asymptomatic for a while. So now they're at risk of all the people they have infected. And what a lot of people don't understand or don't realize is that those people who are in the hospital fighting for their lives, they are fighting in the ICUs alone. And for me to have that perspective, and because none of their family members, not their spouses, not their kids, nobody is allowed to be in there to visit with them, not allowed to be there to hold their hands. So they're imagining their fear to have to fight for their lives, not knowing if they're going to survive, all alone in the hospital, is enough for me to say, this is worth the sacrifice. And if this shelter in place gets extended for 2 more months, 3 months, it's okay for me. I will make that sacrifice. And because the amount of suffering that I may endure is far less than what those people are enduring to try to fight for theirs, even though for the younger people who, we might all think, yeah, they will most likely, not die from this. They will most likely come out of this alive, but they have to be in there in the hospital fighting for their lives all alone while their family members are helpless. My close friend just last night announced that her father just had a stroke and is in the ICU in the hospital during this whole pandemic, and most likely he might not make it. And they are just sitting in the parking lot praying and crying because they're not allowed in there. So that helps me to say, yeah, it sucks, but it's so far horrible and torturous for them that I can't even imagine. So I think that, if we can all take that into perspective and, and think about what those people are going through, and if by us staying home, and if that can save one additional person from that type of torture, that's worth it. That's just something that we should all consider before,
going to the
we
park.
Complain. Yeah, or we complain about, if I'm going to go crazy if, I stay in, or I need to actually go to the park to get the fresh air, or, I think that going to Safeway every single day just to get that social, aspect of it that we're missing. If we think about what the other people are missing out on, that are fighting all alone, and the helplessness that they're feeling, that's what helps me.
Yeah. And you're a nurse, correct?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So I get those calls every day, those tearful calls, and my peers are working so many hours where they can't even function. They're at risk for making errors. They can't even think straight, where they're calling and go, what do I do in this situation? I can't even think straight, and they're so at risk for making, human errors, and that, they're trying to save lives, but they're at risk for, making life-threatening, decisions that can harm them because they're so overworked. They're in tears and seeing the pain, and
they're heroes.
Yeah.
They're heroes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
And I'm breaking down crying just listening to them, and I feel for them.
Yeah. So.
And I get it. I get it.
Let's stay home so that these nurses can get a break and return to normal.
Because if they bring it home, and they bring it home to their little kids, as a mother, I can't even imagine if my child was to get sick and get this, and if they were going to go into the hospital, me as a mother, I will most likely not be allowed to be there with my child.
Yeah.
To be at bedside. you have to understand that I have another friend who's about to give birth. So they were told that when it comes time when she is to deliver, most likely her spouse, her husband, will not be allowed to be there with her.
Wow.
I mean, just take that in for a moment.
Wow.
That's the severity. Can you imagine the spouse, the father, not being able to be there to see the birth of his own child, to be there to hold his wife's hand? Take that in for a moment.
Yeah. It's so important.
Sacrifice.
It's so important. And like you said, we people, we're not sick. And there's people that are in the hospital that are sick, and there are other people that could be sick. It's such an easy choice to make.
Yeah, and if your grandmother or your mother is dying in the hospital, imagine them dying all alone, and you not being allowed to be there with them. Like, take that in for a moment before complaining about, what a sacrifice it is to be staying in or not being able to go for that bike ride. It's a sacrifice that we should be willing to take.
Everybody.
If it means 2 months, if it means 4 months, if it helps one less person to be in that situation, to put this into a stop, because we are close to being in a lockdown. You don't know if this is just one step to that they're putting us through to prep us for it, rather than just going straight to a lockdown. We really don't know.
Yeah.
But let's help to try to prevent that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that is fueling a lot of fear, is there's so much that we don't know.
Exactly.
There's so much that we don't know. And that's really, someone mentioned something, there was a question about the panic buying and getting toilet paper. I think that's really what spurred that, is people just were so fearful that the worst was going to happen immediate, that people went and did panic shopping. And I wish we did know more. I wish we knew, I wish more things were coming to us to assure us to not lose our minds like we're doing. But it's human nature, and I understand that. But like you said, a little bit of sacrifice is probably going to save lives.
Yeah, definitely. So I just wanted to share that, just in case, for those who don't understand what others are going through and don't have a concept of what's going on, that might help them, make it just that much easier to stay in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for calling, Matella. I appreciate it. You are a hero.
I wish that. I said I'm inactive right now, so I'm not, a working frontline, nurse right now. But I definitely feel for my peers who are active right now and who are, the true heroes right now, because they're sacrificing themselves. They're putting in the line of fire without protective gear. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. You wouldn't send firefighters out to fight a fire without the protective gear. They would be told to stand back.
Right.
But my fellow nurses are being told that, they took an oath and they are out there fighting without protective gears, and they are expected to do so. Some hospitals are telling them that, they can't use their own protective gear, or else, they will be fired on the spot. But they have to be right there in the ICU caring for the ones that are positive and are fighting for their lives.
Wow.
And that's crazy. They are the true heroes right now.
Absolutely.
And that's what people don't understand.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Powerful stuff. I'm gonna absolutely tip my cap to the nurses. If you're out there listening, thank you so much. That was extremely powerful stuff that Matella just shared with us. I don't know how to follow that up. Please stay home if you can. You may actually be saving a life by doing what you can to stop the spread of this disease. There were some questions that came in regard why we were talking to why Metella was talking. Let's see. Uh, Mike is wondering what is being done to curb panic buying and where he can find toilet paper. I don't think there's much being done to curb panic buying. Shelves still empty, though, of paper goods. I think the earlier you go to the store, the better, but be mindful of the senior hours, and I don't have the senior hours handy. Our moderator can maybe find that. Ray's mentioning that he is seeing people speeding everywhere. I went out today. I brought some things to my mom, and people are just driving really fast, and it's not a good thing. With that said, 510-331-9112. Someone else called while we were talking to, while we were on the line with someone else. So if you want to call back, I apologize. We didn't get to you. We had some pretty powerful stuff coming in from Metella. So if you could ring us back if you like, 510-331-9112. Just scrolling through the comments here, seeing if anything's new. I don't see anything new. And yes, the people are driving a lot faster because there's less cars out there. I am still seeing probably the same amount of law enforcement out there. But yeah, people are driving fast, and it's not a good idea. Actually, we posted something out there on the page earlier today in regards to that. Last call, 510-331-9112 if you want to join the conversation. Feel free to post your comment or observation on the thread if you like. If not, again, you can ring us up, 510-331-9112. That'll bring you right to the conversation. Don't have to give your last name, just give me your first name, and we could talk about the issues of the day. Just looking through the comments here, not seeing anything else up going around. (510-331-9112). Let's see what's going on over here. Steve says he's still driving to work daily to San Francisco. It's a ghost town. Yeah, traffic is definitely lighter, which is a good thing. It shows that people are staying at home, which is good. A lot of people are working at home. A lot of the radio shows, a lot of those people are have their own little. I hear people, some of the newscasters talking about they have a bathroom studio or a kitchen studio, and yeah, there's a whole lot less traffic out there, which is a good thing. But it does seem like Ray had mentioned, that people are just driving fast, and it's not a good thing. 510-331-9112 if you want to join the conversation. We don't have to talk about the virus. We don't have to talk about the shelter in place. And yeah, we had a lot of good questions. We had some good comments, and I want to thank Metella again for calling in, for sharing her the things that she's hearing from other nurses in this troubling time. With that said, I'm going to wrap this up, and thanks to everyone who tuned in. Yeah, there's not much going on in chat, so looks like we're going to wrap this up. This is Robert. Oh, sorry. Chris mentioned something about the crowding in parks. We did mention that earlier. Over the weekend, I think it was Sunday, there were some photos of Lake Chabot. Cars were just lined all up and down Lake Chabot Road, and the Fairmont staging area was packed. And it even got the attention of Governor Newsom because he's closing the parking lots of the state parks. So I get people want to get out. If you're going to end up at a park or a beach where there's tons of other people and you can't do the social distancing, maybe you should find a different place or walk in your neighborhood and talk to your neighbor from that 6-foot distance. Like Matella said, it is so important for you to do that, to stay at home as much as you can and maintain that social distancing. If you are going to go out, you're probably going to be saving some lives if you do that. And with that said, we are about 46 minutes into this. I'm going to sign off. Thanks to everyone who tuned in, and thank you to everyone who supports and sends in questions and tips on the page. You guys make Castro Valley News what it is. I am just the guy behind a computer. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you to you. Thank you to the nurses. Thank you to the law enforcement folks. Thank you to the first responders, paramedics, fire. You guys are the heroes out there on the front lines doing this. I don't know how the sheriffs are doing this. I don't think they're wearing masks. So they're out there, their lives are on the line. And like Matilla said, these nurses, their lives are on the line to help people. Let's help them help us and stay at home and do the social distancing. I am Robert. This has been Castro Valley News Live. And remember, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Good night.